Good afternoon. Welcome to the Union County Board of Education work session of August 15th, 2017 at 6 o'clock. Sorry for the delay. We have one more board member that I'm sure is stuck somewhere on the mountain. I want to call this meeting to order and welcome all visitors and guests. As I can see, there's quite a few here tonight. The first item is I would like to entertain a motion that we approve the agenda as submitted.
So moved, Madam Chair.
I'll second.
All in favor? Okay, next item is discussion items. Back to school update. Dr. Rayfield?
Yes, Madam Chairman, I wanted to just update the board in comparing our enrollment numbers today versus our final FTE count last spring. I don't know how we achieved this, but we had the exact same number of students in a total. We had 2,844 last spring. Today we have 2,844. The numbers remain fairly constant across the school district. An increase at the high school of about 30 students. A slight drop of about 20 students at the primary, but it evens out. And we have 2,844 students on roll today, as of about noon today.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions about the enrollment numbers? Okay. Next discussion item is Eclipse event update.
We are going to be closed as a school system for everyone on Monday due to the Eclipse event that will take place in our area. Still, the predictions are very high for the number of people that will actually be here in Union County. Also, probably some tremendous traffic problems. We are cooperating with the Chamber of Commerce and everybody in the community to provide a couple of venues for viewing. One of those will be up on top of the hill behind the Fine Arts Center in that open parking area. We'll also provide our other parking lots, and then we'll secure our buildings and athletic fields, but we will allow folks to use our parking areas. Our school resource officers certainly will be working that day and have agreed to provide as much of a level of security as they possibly can. We have another update meeting with emergency management on Thursday of this week, and that will hopefully give us a little more information about how they plan to supplement our folks in terms of handling the traffic flow and things like that. But we're prepared, and we'll send out a notice to all of our employees by the end of the week as to the viewing areas that we'll have available. We'll also be distributing the glasses and general information about the eclipse to all of our students, and some lessons in front of that, some science lessons on the front end of that before they enjoy that with their family on Tuesday. But by all accounts, we made the right decision not to have school that day because of the amount of traffic and visitors that we would have in town.
I'm definitely staying home. Next discussion item is change of October meeting.
We have a conflict this year with our fall break falling on our meeting. Originally, our board meeting is planned for 10/17, October 17th. So we would need to change and go on either side of that, either a week earlier to October the 10th or a week later to October the 24th. Does the board or any of you have a preference whether we move it backward or forward?
Whatever you want.
We don't have a preference.
Okay. Well, we will look at what we think we have upcoming, and if we need to go earlier or later, and we will publish that date and get it to you as soon as we possibly can. But we will have to come off of the October 17th date because of the school system will be on fall break that week.
Next discussion item is bus camera bid information.
I'll tell you, Mr. Garrett and Mr. Driscoll have done an outstanding job. We reviewed the bids late last week on Friday that have come in, and I'm gonna let them, you should have a summary of those in your packet. And I wanna let them share some observations that we had as we looked at those bid packages and the prices and the differentials. There's some things that we want to bring to your attention. So, turn it over to you guys.
Well, you'll notice we had 6 or 7 bids that came in, and the range in price is pretty drastic from the lowest, the way they're sorted on your sheet, the lowest ones at the top, the highest ones at the bottom. There's a big difference. The company that actually has the lowest bid is a Georgia company that happens to manufacture the equipment, and they sell it, you know, as a package. So that's one of the reasons they seem to have a lower price. They don't have a manufacturer's rep they're going through. They just sell it directly to the end user. They manufacture their own equipment. They have a 5-year warranty on all their equipment, where the other companies, you'll notice, the closest was one company had a 3-year warranty on one part and 5 years on the other parts. So warranty-wise, the lowest bidder actually has the best warranty. They have 5 or 6 school systems that they recommended that they, you know, have worked with in the state of Georgia already, and I checked with a couple of those. We checked, couldn't find anybody that had a reason not to use the company. You know, everybody liked what they had done. The systems they worked with are pretty much all bigger than we are. Hall County, Bibb County, which is Macon, Spalding, Fayette. So, you know, yes.
Is this the same ones we were talking about earlier, that if we bought new buses, they would become installed on the bus?
Any of the systems we were looking at, we can do that with. It's we just tell the bus company when you order the bus what kind of system we need in it, and at that point it becomes part of the bus and part of the bus warranty.
On the lowest bidder, under total software had no price.
Right, they
Was it
didn't.
included?
They don't break out their software as a separate cost. Since they manufacture the hardware and package the software with it, it's like the hardware is not going to work without their software. So they just say this is what the system costs. The other ones happen to give a price on what the software was and price on the hardware. And so I broke it down like that just so you can kind of see, if you're comparing just hardware between companies, what your cost might be. So, and you'll notice there was a big difference between 2 or 3 companies on how much it would cost to install. You know, the installation on one company was $30,000, and on another company it might have only been $8,000. So, you know, that made a big difference. The ongoing cost is, you know, the lowest bidder, the ongoing cost, annual cost for updates and maintenance and stuff is about $11,000 a year. So
those annual updates, that's something we would do, I mean, at least for the life of the warranty, right?
Right.
5 years or so.
right. Now the first year there's no cost for that at all. It only starts the second year.
That's
That's
something that
just on updates too.
Yeah.
That's not counting the warranty work or anything that we have. It's just an update.
That would be a set cost that we would
Right.
incur on top of the regular cost every
Right.
year.
Do we have to update every year to something you're gonna, a lot of times you can go a little bit and then update, or do you?
Yeah, this company doesn't have a requirement like some of them do that says, you know, if you skip a year, you have to like pay some big fee, you know, to get caught up. They don't do that. So we could have updates every other year, something like that on the software. And that's mainly what you're doing, is you're updating the software on everything.
And that's with any of the companies
Yeah.
that's the same.
Yeah.
Who's gonna be the one, I mean, do we have internal staff that will manage this and oversee the installation?
The tech department can oversee just the regular what works, what doesn't work. We already do that with all the fixed cameras on the system, on the, you know, all the buildings anyway. So it'd be very easy. This system actually sends you text messages if something quits. So it's pretty easy to maintain it, yeah, and since it's under warranty, it'd just be a matter of calling the company that's in Alpharetta, and they would send us the replacement parts.
So what exactly, I mean, we talked about various ways to price this out. I mean, the way it's priced now, what are we, I mean,
What do you end up with?
what are we getting?
Yeah, what you end up with is 100% coverage in the bus of anything that goes on, video and audio. So you'll see what kids are doing or whoever's riding the bus, you'll hear what they're doing. If the bus driver, you'll see what they're doing and you'll hear whatever they say. You'll also have a front view, like you're looking out the windshield of the bus. So if anything pulls out in front of a bus or anything like that, you get that video. And these also have a stop arm camera, so if anybody passes the bus when the stop arm's out, you'll get that information too. It has a GPS, it's a passive GPS, which basically all that means is we're not gonna do the cellular route, which we talked about not doing, you know. And the passive GPS means that it'll collect all the data as far as where they went exactly and information about the bus, how fast the bus was going, where the brakes on, what turn signals were on, that kind of data. It'll collect that during the route, and when the bus gets back to the bus garage, it'll transmit that wirelessly to a server, and then Stanley can, look at information. It'll send him alerts. He can set up triggers that if a bus goes over this fast, it'll send him an alert. If anything abnormal happens, he can send us an alert. So that's the kind of stuff we're getting with the passive GPS part of it. And then the video side, the video in this one is tied to the GPS. So if you have a parent that called and said, I was following a bus in front of Petite Store and it was going, 55 miles an hour or whatever, instead of Stanley having to watch the video from here to there and back, he would just look at the map, click on the section at Petite Store and see the video for that part of it. So it's very, very easy to use, and doesn't require you to sit and watch a lot of video.
Over the course of, I just did some adding, over the course of 5 years, that annual renewal, that actually puts that second company a little bit cheaper than the first company. How long, do we really, if it's gonna be substantially longer, a longer life than 5 years, what did you think about the second company?
Well, the second company was a good one too. They're out of Dothan, Alabama. They, same kind of thing. Their job is just doing bus camera systems, and they do police cars and some other systems, as far as they're just camera systems on vehicles, basically. The second company, here again, Decatur County uses them. They didn't have anything bad to say about them. There are other counties in Metro Atlanta that use them, and both of those first two or the first three as far as that goes. The third company on the list, they're used by Fannin County. What else? It was an ARIA.
Do you see any reason that you would, if you don't get penalized for updating, you don't update your car GPS every time,
right?
It comes up. Do you see any reason you should do that maybe more than every 3 years? Should you be able to use the same software for 2 or 3 years really before you update it?
You probably could. I just don't know yet. That's one of those things I won't really know until we see.
That's something we might want to ask them,
Yeah.
because if you could do it every 3 years, you're going to save considerable. You're going to save $22,000.
Yeah.
Which one do you recommend? Which one did you feel had the best reviews, and with who you talked to, which one you would recommend?
The first two are really, as far as what they do and the ability, the features they have and how easy they are to use, and the testimonials from other counties, the first two are fine. So really, to me, the biggest difference is just going to be the first one's cheaper. They both of the first ones do the same thing. They both are good companies, they seem to be, and they both get great reviews. So. Now the second company does have an annual fee. It's I think it's less than $2,000.
$3,750.
Okay, maybe it's somebody else that was less than.
$11,235 on the first company, and $3,750 on the second.
What's the third one?
$72.96.
Okay. I thought somebody had a cheaper one.
Safety vision.
That's just for
Is it
the-
Safety Vision? Okay, Safety Vision was 15.
But we said we could skip that 11,000, you know,
Or see it.
the first company would not.
Yeah, but they were
penalized
also
if we
real
skipped it.
expensive. weren't
If we can skip it.
Right.
they? Yeah.
Okay, one other question. The first company under the J 1939 says yes, and the second company says no.
Right.
What is that J 1939?
J1939 is a protocol that's used by commercial engines, like bus engines, that records things to the computer on board about, you know, the RPMs and that kind of thing. The people from Bluebird said you need the J1939 protocol to be supported so that you can plug it straight into the bus computer. What a couple other companies have said is, which, you know, there were companies that didn't have that feature. What they said was that they could get the same information from the GPS unit without plugging it into the bus computer. So the first one supports that protocol and the second one doesn't. That's probably the biggest difference between the two.
But Bluebird recommends us having it.
The Bluebird rep that was up here a couple of weeks ago, he said that'd be something that you'd want to have.
Well, all of our buses have that J1939. And that's on the mechanical side, all the way through and out. So,
Stanley, this is your area of expertise. Which company did you feel like was the one that you would want to work with?
well, the one that's closest to me, I mean,
Makes
Alpharetta, I mean, if we have to go, say we have something that goes down, you know, and, I mean, we could drive down Alpharetta and replace. The 24/7 is a company that's, it's been around for probably the last 5 or 6 years, and they've really got a good name. They're showing up in a lot of stuff in the magazines and stuff like that, you know, bus transportation stuff all over the United States. And I think it'd be a good one.
We've also got a bit more.
Yeah.
Any other questions by anyone? Okay. Next discussion item is equipment needed for the elementary cafeteria.
We do have,
I'm
MOU.
sorry, it is the MOU Union General Hospital Athletic Training Services. Sorry about that.
You should have a copy of that in your packet. Before we start on that memorandum of understanding, I have had Harbin, Hartley, and Hawkins to review that, and they sent it back to me and said they were good with the school district side of it. This came out of a conversation with our athletic department and our athletic director, and we received some notification that we would no longer be able to send student athletes to one of our vendors here in town. They're going to still try to provide what level of support that they can during games and things like that, but we were losing the ability to send a student athlete to the therapy place and have them either treated or evaluated as on a walk-in basis. So a lot of school districts have found that the liability of having student athletes and injuries and not treating them properly or identifying them properly to be a major concern, and that's no different for us. We have a tremendous amount of both male and female sports going on fall and spring. So we approached the hospital and said, is there any way that you can help us? That was really the first approach. Is there any way that you can help us, because we're losing the ability to have a trainer at certain things? And we began to look at the possibility of a partnership between physical therapy at the hospital and Union County schools. We met 2 or 3 different times. We have space available in our gym at the high school to have a training room. The hospital came back to us and said, we will hire an athletic trainer on our staff, and we would ask that the school district agree to pay 50% of that cost. We'll pay 50% of that cost. You will have the trainer 100% of the time, except the time that they don't have responsibilities with the school. They will work in the physical therapy department at the hospital. And so, really, we're getting a full-time athletic trainer for our student athletes for a price of $18,532 a year, which is extremely cheap and economical. Our hope is that the hospital wants to help this trainer get their teaching certification, and it would evolve into this person full-time coming to work for us and teaching a couple of classes in our health care science pathway in sports medicine and physical therapy. And so that could certainly evolve pretty easily because we have the facility, we have the person, and we have the partnership with the hospital that allows us to have this person and get them trained. So I submit that for your consideration. It is also on the 7 o'clock agenda if you find that to be something that you could approve. They have identified the candidate. The candidate, I think, they've already put them to work over there with them. As soon as we get this MOU in place, we can start providing those services for our student athletes. I think it's also important to remember that football season, we have a scrimmage game this Thursday night, and then that season is in full tilt along with softball and volleyball. So to me, it's a great community partnership, and it's a win-win for both sides.
Will there be a cost to the student to go?
No. As long as that is taking place at the school. We'll have a training room there. They can do certain therapies, certain evaluations. Now, if they happen to go to a physician for a more serious problem and they have a prescribed therapy, I think that they would have to go to the hospital or another provider for that and pay through their insurance. But we can provide lots of day-to-day things on sprains and pulls and minor type things that I think would help our families not have to go to the emergency room or whatever, and be able to be evaluated right when the accident happens during the practice or during the game. And that person is professionally trained to give them some guidance on where they need to go to seek treatment. But liability-wise, insurance-wise, this employee is covered through the hospital. Yeah.
Any other questions, anyone? Okay. Now to the equipment needed for the elementary cafeteria.
Well, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Courtney. She had a piece of equipment to die a painful death. And so we added this to the agenda the day that we were formulating it, and so we'll let her share with you what her needs are.
I'm just requesting that we be able to purchase a fryer for the elementary school. All of the other schools have fryers. We've gone without it for about 3 years now, and it would just really enhance the quality of some of the foods that we serve at the elementary. If we could have a fryer, it would also ease a little bit of the preparation that it takes and help out with the batch cooking, being able to prepare food that would be hotter as the kids are coming through the line. I have
Received a copy of 3 bids.
Okay.
Which one are you recommending?
I am suggesting the Vulture one. That used to be, I believe, previously was Direct South out of Gainesville. We've purchased equipment from them before, and there's not a huge difference in the amount of money between the bids, but anyway, they are the lowest bid as well.
You like it the best, or is it just because it's the lowest bid?
No, I chose a Frymaster, and that's what they all were bid on, because we have a Frymaster at all the other 3 schools, And I probably have fewer maintenance requests to repair those items than any other item we have in the kitchen, so I felt like it was probably good just to stick with that brand.
Any other questions, anyone? Okay, next item on the agenda for discussion is FY18 board training plan.
That is basically to apprise the board that we do have to have our annual training plan, which is what we propose for our courses this year, has to be submitted to the state by September the 15th. And so if you have suggestions or topics that you think have not been covered in previous board trainings, or something that you would like for me to check on to see if there's a course offering that's out there in that area, we'll work with RESA first as a vendor, and then we can go out to some other providers if there's another course that RESA doesn't offer. So feel free either through email or phone call or a personal conversation to let me know what your suggestions are for board training, because we'll be, if I don't hear from you, then that means the superintendent has to go into that bank of courses and try to select 3 or 4 courses that maybe you have not had or not had all of them. So
When are you thinking that we will be taking these?
they'll be spread out, hopefully throughout the year. You'll try to set a date in the fall, one about mid-year, and then one later in the spring usually, unless you have a desire to have them pulled all close together. I usually try to spread them out and do them in an evening and stay off of Saturdays and things like that. So if we can do it in an evening setting, then I can spread them out, one fall, one spring, and one in the middle. The only disclaimer I'll put on that is that it usually depends on the folks that are coming to teach for us, if their schedule will match with the days that we pick.
Okay. Anyone have any comments? Okay. The next item on the agenda is executive session. No decisions will be made during the executive session. I'd like to entertain a motion. We move into executive session.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor? We will be back.